The ship came out of faster-than-light travel with a soft hum. Inside, Ambassador looked through the window at the massive space station floating in the darkness. Station was bigger than anything he had ever seen. It was a city made of metal and light, spinning slowly in the emptiness of space. "We are here," said Lieutenant from the pilot's seat. She was a tall woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. Her body was lean and strong from years of military training. "The Galactic Council is waiting for us." Nodded and stood up. He was a man of average height, but his body was solid. Years of running and swimming had given him muscles that showed even through his diplomatic uniform. He did not think much about his body. To him, it was simply the result of staying healthy. "How many species will be there?" asked. "The report says 23, replied. "All of them have been part of the Council for hundreds of years. We are the new ones." This was the biggest moment in human history. After decades of receiving signals from space, humans had finally built ships fast enough to reach the stars. Now they were about to meet other intelligent life for the first time. The docking process took 10 minutes. When the airlock opened and stepped into a wide corridor made of white metal, the air smelled clean but strange, like flowers mixed with something chemical. A group of aliens waited for them. Had seen pictures, but seeing them in person was different. There were small creatures no taller than his chest. They had soft, round bodies covered in fine fur. Their eyes were large and black, like those of a frightened animal. They had 4 short arms and moved in quick, nervous steps. "Welcome, humans," said the lead. A small device on its chest translated its words into English. "I am Elder. We are honored to receive you." Smiled warmly and bowed slightly. "Thank you, Elder. I am Ambassador and this is Lieutenant. We come in peace and friendship." They looked at each other, noticed that they kept a distance of several meters from him, and he thought perhaps this was their custom. "Please follow us," Elder said. "The Council awaits." They walked through the corridors of station, looked around with wonder. The station was full of different species. Some were tall and thin like walking sticks. Others were short and wide. Some floated in the air. Some crawled on many legs, but noticed something strange. Every species they passed stopped and stared at them, and then they moved away, pressing against the walls to let the humans pass. "They seem very polite," whispered two. "Yes," agreed, "very welcoming." He did not understand that the aliens were not being polite. They were afraid. The council chamber was a massive round room with seats arranged in circles going up to the ceiling. Representatives from all 23 species sat in their designated areas. When an entered, the room became silent. Walked to the center of the room where a platform waited for him. Stood behind him, her hands clasped behind her back in military rest position. This made her shoulders look even broader. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," began. "Humanity thanks you for this invitation. For many years we have looked at the stars and wondered if we were alone. Today we know the answer. We are not alone and we are grateful." He spoke for several minutes about Earth, about human history, about their hopes for peace and cooperation. The aliens listened in complete silence. In the section, Elder was receiving messages on a small screen hidden in his robe. His assistant, a young named, was sending him data. "Elder," the message read, "I have accessed the human database they shared with us. I am finding disturbing information." Typed back without looking away from the human, "What information?" "Their biology, Elder. Humans are different." On the platform finished his speech. "We look forward to learning from all of you, and we hope to share our own knowledge in return. Thank you." Polite sounds of approval came from the council, though they seemed quieter than had expected. He stepped back, and an official announced a short break before the formal welcome ceremony. Leaned close to, "That went well, I think." "I hope so," said. "They seem a bit distant." "Maybe they are just shy. This is new for them too." In the section, Elder was reading the data his assistant had gathered. His large eyes grew even larger. The file showed human biology in detail. Humans had very little body fat compared to most species. Instead, they had dense muscle tissue covering their entire frame. Their bones were thick and strong. Their hearts were powerful pumps that could work for hours without rest. But the most frightening part was their history as hunters. Persistence predators, read quietly. Humans do not chase prey quickly. They follow it for hours, for days, until the prey cannot run anymore. He looked at the two humans on the platform. The male was stretching his neck, moving his head from side to side. The female was rolling her shoulders. Simple movements, casual movements. But it looked like predators preparing for a hunt. Elder whispered, "What should we do?" Did not answer. He was watching the human female. She had removed her outer jacket because the room was warm for humans. Underneath, she wore a tight shirt that showed the clear lines of her muscles. Her arms were not big, but they were defined. Every movement showed strength under the skin. Had never seen a species built so completely for physical action. Most intelligent species in the galaxy had evolved beyond their physical forms. They used technology for everything. Their bodies were soft, weak, designed for thinking, not doing. But humans had not left their bodies behind. They had kept them, improved them. They were minds and bodies working together as one. "We need to inform the other delegations," finally said, quietly, without alarming the humans. "What will we tell them?" Looked at Ambassador, who was now chatting happily with an official. The human was smiling, showing his teeth. So many teeth, strong teeth, teeth that could tear. "Tell them," said slowly, "that we may have made a mistake inviting these creatures here." The welcome ceremony was about to begin, and the Galactic Council had no idea what they had brought into their home. The welcome ceremony began with music. Strange, beautiful sounds filled the council chamber as lights danced across the ceiling, watched with a smile on his face. He thought it was wonderful. He did not know that several species were quietly leaving their seats and moving toward the exits. Elder had sent his warning. Now, word was spreading through the council like fire through dry grass. "Have you seen the data?" a delegate whispered to his neighbor. There were tall, thin beings with blue skin and long fingers. "The humans are built for killing." "I thought they seemed friendly," the neighbor replied. She was a species that looked like large butterflies with human-like faces. "That is what makes them dangerous. They hide their nature behind smiles." On the platform and stood side by side, watching the ceremony. Neither of them noticed the quiet panic spreading through the room. They were too busy enjoying the moment. "This is beautiful," said softly. "I wish my mother could see this." "Take pictures," suggested. "We can send them home." Pulled out a small device and began recording. She raised her arms to get a better angle, and her muscles flexed with the movement. 30 meters away, a group of assistants saw this. They saw the human female's arms move, saw the muscles tighten and release under her skin. One of them made a small sound of fear. "Look at her," one whispered. "She could break us in half." "With one hand," another agreed. The ceremony continued. After the music, there were speeches from various council members. Each one welcomed humanity to the galactic community. Each one spoke of peace and cooperation. But notice that the speakers stood very far from the platform, much farther than necessary. When the speeches ended, an official announced that there would be a formal dinner to honor the new members. Everyone was invited to the grand hall. "Turn 2, are you hungry?" "Very," she said. "I hope they have something we can eat." They followed the crowd toward the grand hall. As they walked, noticed that a path always opened before them. Other species moved aside quickly, pressing against walls and each other to let the humans pass. "They are so polite here," said. Nodded, but something in her eyes showed doubt. "Maybe too polite. Do you notice how they look at us?" "What do you mean?" "Watch their eyes. They are not just looking, they are watching." paid more attention, was right. The aliens were staring at them with wide eyes. Some had their mouths open. Some were trembling slightly. It was not the look of curiosity. It was the look of prey watching a predator. But dismissed the thought. That was impossible. They were diplomats, not hunters. The grand hall was massive. Long tables filled the room, covered with foods from 100 different worlds. The colors were amazing. Reds and blues and greens and colors had no names for. The smells mixed together in a strange but pleasant way. "This is incredible," said. A host approached them. There were medium-sized beings with skin and 4 eyes. This one wore an official uniform and carried a translation device. "Ambassador, Lieutenant, please follow me. We have prepared a special table for you." They were led to a table at the far end of the hall. It was separated from the other tables by a wide, empty space. Thought this was a sign of honor, special treatment for special guests. He did not realize it was a safety distance. Food was brought to them. They had studied human biology and prepared dishes that humans could safely eat, and ate with appreciation, complimenting every dish. At the other tables, the aliens watched. "Look how they eat," a whispered. "They use tools, but see how their hands move, strong hands." "I heard they can run for days without stopping," said a, "just running, following their prey until it collapses." "That cannot be true." "It is in their database. They shared it themselves. They call it persistence hunting." At the human table, finished eating and stretched. It was a simple movement. She raised her arms above her head and extended her back. She had been sitting for a long time, and her muscles were stiff from the journey. The stretch lasted only a few seconds, but in those seconds, every alien in the grand hall saw something that would give them nightmares. They saw her body change shape. They saw muscles move under her skin like living things. They saw her arms extend to their full length, showing their true reach. They saw her chest expand as she took a deep breath. They saw what humans really were. Not soft thinkers like them. Not weak creatures who had abandoned their physical forms for technology. Humans were bodies and minds together. They were machines of bone and muscle, built over millions of years for one purpose: to hunt, to chase, to catch, to kill. Elder was sitting at a table nearby with other senior council members. When stretched, he dropped his eating tool. It clattered on the table, but no one noticed. They were all staring at the human female. "We need to discuss this," said quietly, "in private." "Agreed," said the High Speaker. "Immediately," added the Queen. At the human table, noticed the sudden silence. He looked around and saw that everyone was staring at them. He smiled and waved. "Hello," he called out. "This food is wonderful, thank you very much." Also waved. "Yes, thank you, you are very kind." The aliens said nothing, they just stared. After a moment, turned back to his meal. "Maybe they are just not used to visitors," he said. "Maybe," agreed, but she was beginning to feel uncomfortable. Something was wrong, but she could not understand what. In the corner of the grand hall, Elder was typing a message on his personal device. He sent it to every senior delegate in the room. "Emergency meeting, Council Chamber 7, 1 hour, do not inform the humans." The message was received by 17 species. Within minutes, quiet agreements were sent back. The meeting would happen. The humans continued eating, laughing, enjoying themselves. They were living the greatest day in human history. They were meeting new friends from across the galaxy. They did not know that those new friends were already planning how to escape them. Stretched again and somewhere in the grand hall, a small child started crying. Its mother quickly covered its mouth and hurried toward the exit. She did not look back at the humans. She was too afraid to look. Anna never noticed. They were too busy being happy. Council Chamber 7 was small and secure. It was designed for private meetings, away from the main halls where visitors might wander. 17 species had sent representatives. They sat in a circle, their faces showing fear and confusion. Elder stood in the center. Behind him, a large screen displayed data from the human database. "Thank you all for coming," said. "I know this is unusual, but what I am about to show you requires immediate attention." He pressed a button and the screen changed. It showed a picture of a human body with labels pointing to different parts. "This is their biology," explained. "Look at the muscle structure. Humans have very little fat on their bodies. Instead, they have dense muscle tissue covering their entire frame." "Many species have muscles," said the high speaker. His name was Juno, and he was considered wise among his people. "That alone is not concerning." "You are correct," said, "but look deeper." He changed the image. Now it showed a comparison between human muscles and the muscles of other species. Human muscles are different. They can work for hours without rest. They do not tire easily. They can repair themselves quickly. And most importantly, they are attached to a skeleton that is incredibly dense and strong. The room was silent. "Their bones are like metal," continued. "They can support enormous weight. They can absorb great force without breaking. And their hearts," he shook his head. "Their hearts can pump blood at high speeds for extended periods. They call this endurance." The queen, whose name was Sara, raised one of her delicate wings. "Are you saying humans are designed for physical combat?" "Worse," said, "they are designed for hunting." He changed the image again. Now the screen showed videos from Earth, humans running, humans swimming, humans climbing mountains, humans lifting heavy objects, humans fighting each other in sports. "They do these things for fun," said, his voice shaking, "for entertainment. They push their bodies to the limit because they enjoy it." "Impossible," someone muttered. "I thought the same, but there is more." Brought up a new file. It was labeled Persistence Hunting. "This is how humans hunted for thousands of years," he explained. "Before they had advanced technology, they did not use speed to catch their prey. Most animals are faster than humans. Instead, they use something else." "What?" Juno asked. "Time." The screen showed a video of ancient humans hunting an antelope across a vast plain. The human would find its prey. It would start chasing. The prey would run away fast and quick. It would escape. It would rest. It would think it was safe. Everyone watched the screen. But then the human would appear again, still walking, still following. The prey would run again, escape again, rest again, and the human would appear again. The video continued. The antelope ran 5 times, 10 times, each time it escaped. Each time the human followed. "Humans do not stop," said. "They do not need to stop. Their bodies are built to move forever. They sweat to cool themselves. They breathe efficiently. They can walk and run for hours, for days, without collapsing." On the screen, the antelope finally stopped running. It was too tired. It could not move, and the human walked up to it calmly and killed it. "They won by being patient," said. "They won by never giving up. They followed their prey until it died of exhaustion." The room erupted in terrified whispers. "This is their nature," continued. "This is what they evolved to do. They are not fast predators who chase and catch. They are slow predators who follow and wait. They are patient. They are relentless. And they never ever stop." High Speaker Juno stood up. His blue face had turned pale. "And we invited them here, into our home." "Yes." "How do we know they will not hunt us?" "We do not know," admitted. "That is why I called this meeting." Queen Sora spoke next. "What else does their database reveal?" Hesitated. "There is more, much more, and it is not comforting." He changed the screen again. This time it showed human history, wars, battles, weapons. Humans have fought each other for their entire existence. They have developed weapons that can destroy entire cities. They have killed millions of their own kind in wars that lasted years. "They kill their own species," a small delegate asked with horror. Often over land, over resources, over ideas. They are very good at killing. But they seemed so friendly, Sora said. The ambassador smiled at everyone. Yes, they smile, they laugh, they make pleasant conversation, but underneath all of that they are hunters. Their bodies never forgot what they were made for. Juno sat back down, looking defeated. What do? We cannot simply ask them to leave. That would be an insult. And we cannot keep them here, someone else added. What if they decide to hunt? The debate continued for a long time. Some suggested limiting where the humans could go on the station. Others suggested constant surveillance. Some wanted to send them home immediately. Finally, Elder raised his hand for silence. I suggest we observe them more closely. Learn their behaviors, understand their patterns. They do not know that we are afraid. We should keep it that way. If they are truly peaceful, they will show us. If they are not. If they are not, Juno asked. Then we prepare evacuation routes for every section of this station. We make sure that if the humans decide to hunt, we can escape. The room agreed. It was a logical plan. Watch and wait, prepare for the worst. As the meeting ended, Queen Sora asked one final question. Elder, there is something I do not understand. If humans are such dangerous predators, why did they come here offering peace? Thought about this for a long moment. Perhaps they are truly peaceful. Perhaps they have evolved beyond their hunting nature. Lord. Or perhaps, said slowly, they are simply looking for new prey. The room fell silent. No one wanted to consider that possibility. But as they left the chamber, every one of them was thinking the same thing. The humans were here. They were smiling, they were friendly. And they were built to hunt. What happened next would depend entirely on what the humans decided to do. The galaxy could only watch and wait. And hope that the hunters were not hungry. The next morning on station, woke up early. He stretched his arms above his head, feeling his muscles wake up one by one. The guest room was comfortable, but he had slept in strange positions during the night. His body needed to move. He found in the corridor outside their rooms. She was doing exercises, push-ups, sit-ups, stretches. Her body moved with smooth precision, muscles working like a perfect machine. Good morning, said. Good morning, Ambassador, stood up and shook out her arms. I could not sleep well, too much energy. I needed to exercise. I understand. This place is exciting. Neither of them noticed the security camera watching from the corner. Neither of them knew that 23 species were observing their every move. In the station's security center, a group of officers from various species watched the humans on multiple screens. They had been watching all night. The female is exercising again, an officer reported. This is the third time in 10 hours. They do not rest properly, said an analyst. According to their database, humans only need 6 to 8 hours of sleep per day. Some need less. That gives them 18 hours of activity every single day. 18 hours to hunt. On the screen finished her exercises. She yawned, opening her mouth wide. Her teeth showed clearly in the camera. Strong teeth, someone whispered, designed for tearing meat. They are omnivores, they eat everything, including other species. Their history says they only eat animals that cannot think, but how do we know they would not change their minds? The fear was spreading. What had started as quiet concern was becoming real panic. Messages were being sent across the station. Every species was preparing for the worst. In the section of the station, High Speaker Juno gathered his people. We must be ready to evacuate at any moment, he told them. I want everyone to know the fastest route to the emergency ships. High Speaker, is this necessary? The humans have been nothing but kind. Kind words mean nothing. Their bodies tell the truth. They are predators. We must be prepared. Similar meetings were happening throughout the station. They were practicing their flying formations, ready to escape through ventilation shafts. They were calculating hiding spots where humans could not reach. The smaller species were forming groups, believing there was safety in numbers. And then something happened that made everything worse. And were invited to tour the station. A guide named was assigned to show them around. He was nervous, but he tried to hide it behind professional politeness. "This is the botanical garden," said, leading them into a vast room filled with plants from 100 worlds. "We grow specimens from every member species here." "It is beautiful," said, walking forward to look at a purple flower. Followed, but then she stopped. Her eyes narrowed, her body tensed. Froze, every muscle in his body told him to run, but he could not move. He could only watch. "There," said suddenly, pointing across the garden. She moved fast, faster than thought possible. One moment she was standing still. The next moment she was running across the garden at high speed. Translator device began calculating evacuation routes automatically. His hands were shaking as he prepared to call for help. Reached the other side of the garden. She stopped, bent down, and stood up again. She was holding a small creature. It looked like a furry ball with legs. "Look," she called out to, "I think it is lost, poor little thing." It was a pet, a harmless animal that had escaped from its owner, had seen it hiding among the plants and had chased after it to help. She carried it back gently, stroking its fur. "Do you know who this belongs to?" she asked. The guide could not answer. He was staring at her with pure terror in his eyes. Had just demonstrated something that would be reported to every species on the station within the hour. She had run fast, without warning. She had chased a small creature and caught it with ease. And she had done it while smiling. The report spread like wildfire. Human female demonstrated pursuit behavior, chased and captured small animal. Speed estimated at 30 kilometers per hour. Did not appear tired afterward. In the security center, officers were now in full panic mode. "She could catch any of us," an officer said. "She could chase us down and we would have no escape. We need better evacuation plans. The current ones are not fast enough." "What about the human male? What can he do?" They found out that afternoon. Was invited to a formal meeting with several council members. The meeting room was on the 3rd level of the station, accessible by elevator. But when arrived at the elevator, it was not working. "Technical problem," an official apologized. "It will take an hour to repair." "No problem," said. "Where are the stairs?" He was shown to the stairway. The official expected him to complain. The stairs were steep and there were many levels to climb. But just started walking up, step by step, easy and steady. 10 minutes later he arrived at the meeting room. He was not breathing hard. He was not sweating. He looked exactly the same as when he started. The council members stared at him. "I apologize for being slightly late," said pleasantly. "The elevator was not working." "You walked up the stairs?" Elder asked. "Of course, it was not far, only about 200 steps." Only 200 steps, spoken as if it was nothing, as if climbing 200 steps was easier than standing still. After sat down, Elder quietly checked his personal device. On it was a calculation of his own species' endurance. A could climb about 50 steps before needing rest. After 100 steps, most would collapse from exhaustion. The human had done 200 steps and called it not far. The meeting continued, but no one was paying attention to the agenda. They were all thinking the same thing. These creatures could chase them anywhere, upstairs, through corridors, across the entire station. There was nowhere to hide. There was nowhere to run. When the meeting ended, 17 separate requests for routine security assessments were sent to the station's central computer. All of them included one special instruction: calculate evacuation routes. Fast evacuation routes. The fastest evacuation routes possible. Just in case the humans started hunting. on the third day of their visit, decided to do something special. He wanted to thank the Galactic Council for their hospitality. He wanted to show them that humans were good and friendly. He had brought gifts from Earth. "These are chocolates," explained to as he arranged small boxes on a table. "Everyone loves chocolate. It is the perfect way to make friends." Helped him prepare. "I also brought some photographs of Earth, mountains, oceans, forests. Maybe they would like to see our world." "Excellent idea." They set up a small display in the common area near their guest rooms. The chocolates were arranged in neat rows. The photographs were displayed on small screens, even put on some soft Earth music in the background. Then they waited for visitors. And waited. And waited. No one came. After 2 hours, looked at with confusion. Where is everyone? The station seemed so busy before. Walked to the corridor and looked around. It was empty, completely empty. No aliens walking, no aliens talking, nothing. "This is strange," she said. What they did not know was that the entire station had received an alert that morning. Humans preparing unknown display in common area. All species advised to maintain distance until purpose is determined. The aliens were watching through cameras. They saw the small boxes. They saw the photographs. They saw the humans waiting with smiles on their faces. They assumed it was a trap. "What are those boxes?" an analyst asked in the security center. "Unknown, could be weapons, could be bait." "Why would predators offer bait?" "To attract prey, to make us feel safe before attacking." The analysis continued. Every chocolate box was studied. Every photograph was examined. The soft music was analyzed for hidden messages. They found nothing dangerous because there was nothing dangerous. But they could not believe it. After 3 hours of waiting, sighed, "Maybe they are busy, let us try something else." He decided to visit the section of the station. He wanted to meet Elder again and personally thank him for the welcome ceremony. Walked through the corridors toward the area. He moved at a normal pace, his steps even and steady. He did not realize that every step was being tracked. Human male approaching sector, speed, 5 kilometers per hour. Direction, direct approach. All advised to initiate Evacuation Protocol 3. In the living areas, alarms began to ring. Silent alarms that only could hear. Families grabbed their children. Workers left their stations. Everyone moved toward the evacuation routes that had been calculated the day before. By the time reached the sector, it was empty. "Hello," called out. His voice echoed in the empty corridors. "Is anyone here? I wanted to visit Elder." No answer. He walked further, looking into windows and doorways. Everything was abandoned. Food was left on tables. Work was left unfinished. It looked like everyone had just disappeared. "This is very strange," said to himself. Behind him, hidden in a maintenance shaft, a group watched him through a small hole. They saw the human looking around. They saw him scratch his head in confusion. They saw him shrug and turn back. "He is leaving," one whispered. "Perhaps we were not the prey he was looking for. Or perhaps he is saving us for later." Returned to the common area, where was still waiting with the gifts. No one was there, he reported. The whole section was empty. "Same here, not a single visitor." They looked at each other, confused and a little sad. "Did we do something wrong?" asked. "I do not know. I have been as polite as possible. I smile, I bow, I say please and thank you. Maybe they just need more time to get used to us." That evening, the Galactic Council held an emergency meeting. Every species attended except the humans. They were not invited. "The humans have been here for 3 days, Elder announced. In that time, they have demonstrated extreme physical capabilities, predator behavior patterns, and relentless stamina. Today, one of them approached the sector directly, forcing a full evacuation." "What do we do?" High Speaker Juno asked. I propose that we end their visit early. We tell them that there is a technical problem with the station. We ask them to return to their ship for safety. Then we escort them out of Council space. The vote was almost unanimous. 22 species voted yes. One small species voted no, but they were too afraid to argue. The next morning, an official visited and in their guest rooms. "I am very sorry," the official said. "There is a technical problem with the station's air systems. We must ask all visitors to evacuate for their own safety." Looked concerned. "Is everyone all right? Can we help?" No, please just return to your ship. We will handle it." "But we wanted to say goodbye to everyone. We brought gifts. We made chocolates." "That is very kind, but there is no time. You must leave immediately." And gathered their belongings. They left the chocolates on the table, hoping someone would find them. They walked to the docking bay where their ship waited. The corridors were empty. The entire station seemed to have evacuated to areas far from the human path. At the airlock, Elder was waiting. He stood at maximum safe distance, nearly 20 meters away. "Ambassador," he called out, "on behalf of the Galactic Council, I thank you for your visit. We hope that future relations between our species will be positive." Smiled and waved. "Thank you, Elder. I hope we can visit again soon. There is so much more we wanted to share." "Yes, perhaps in the future. Goodbye." The airlock closed. The human ship detached from the station. Within minutes it was gone, flying back toward Earth. Inside the ship, sat in the passenger seat looking out the window. "That was strange," he said. "Very strange," agreed. "They seemed like they could not wait for us to leave." "Do you think we did something wrong?" "I do not know. We were friendly. We brought gifts. We tried to be good guests." Shook his head. "Maybe we will understand them better next time." They flew home, never knowing the truth. On station, the Galactic Council celebrated the departure of the humans. Parties were held. Songs were sung. The children came out of hiding and played in the corridors again. "They are gone," everyone said. "We are safe." But in the security center, new files were being created. Files about human biology. Files about human behavior. Files about how to escape if the humans ever returned. And in a corner of the common area, a cleaning robot found the boxes of chocolate. It disposed of them in the recycler, never knowing what they were. The humans had come in peace. They had offered friendship. And the galaxy had calculated evacuation routes. Somewhere in the universe there is a species built for hunting. They have muscles of iron and bones of stone. They can run for days without rest. They are the ultimate predators. And all they wanted was to make friends. But no one was brave enough to stay and find out.